Hey everybody, welcome to the 10K Project. We are the largest community of Black investors who actively fund Black-owned businesses. The idea is simple. When 10,000 of us come together and each, for example, put in just $100 into investing in a business, then that is $1 million. We are able to fund our own businesses instead of waiting for other people to come fund us. We are able to create jobs in the community. We can profit from our own innovation, and we can build Black wealth together. So this series I'm doing kind of periodically with people who are high earning and or rich, and they come to talk to us about how the rich invest. And today I am here with Mr. Todd Capital himself, or Todd Billionaire, Mr. Charles Oglesby. Hello, Charles.
How you doing? I'm happy to be here.
Good to have you. So first of all, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Charles Oglesby. I go by Todd Billionaire. I founded a company called Todd Capital that was motivated by my experience working in finance for larger institutions that catered to the already rich. So my undergrad degree is in finance. After that, I became a financial advisor. I was out there door knocking on doors, trying to get people to buy stocks. And I had some success with it, but ended up rolling into private banking. And so I went from working at like a lower level, where I can work with anybody, to then only working exclusively with people who have $250,000 in assets or more. Did all this, and I realized none of my clients looked like me. In fact, the people that did come into the bank who looked like me were the people who were not really qualified to do anything. Like, they were just struggling. They looked like they had it, but they didn't necessarily have it. And so my thing was, I need to make it so that I can help these people get to where they need to be, as opposed to just helping the rich get richer. Created Todd Capital. Todd Capital started out as an investment club. With that investment club, we started pulling together people to invest on a very small level, $25 a month. Who doesn't have $25 a month? And we saw some great success with that. We saw people learning about the stock market, coming in, just being students, to then leaving and investing on their own. They had the confidence to do it on their own. And then from there, we ended up starting to buy real estate. So we're pooling assets, buying real estate in the Michigan market that we still own to this day. We were buying homes for $10,000 and $20,000. They're now worth double and triple what they're worth. We paid for them. So we did all of that, and then also started doing some investment education. Last year, taught a course on stock options, a course on real estate, a course on LLC formation, all these different courses. And in those courses, we were able to just educate so many people, sold over 25,000 courses last year alone, and became a multi-million-dollar company.
Fantastic. One of the things I love about you is the fact that you started small. And I wasn't there from the very beginning, but I was there kind of pretty close early on when you came through Erica Williams' channel and started talking. And at that time, you were starting to invest in Detroit. You all had bought your first house and things like that. So to see your growth has been amazing. Let's talk a little bit about how the rich invest. So, we can invest in a lot of different things, but what's your philosophy? If someone's starting from zero, maybe they're young, they may be 50 years young, 60 years young, and still feel like they're starting off at zero. How would you kind of guide them? And again, this is not investment advice to anybody. This is an opinion show because I am not a financial advisor, and Charles isn't either, I don't think, right?
I'm sorry? No, I'm not a financial advisor. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, so we're not financial advisors, but this is some information you can still learn from. So, tell everybody, like, what your philosophy is with regards to investing.
Yeah, so I feel like there's different phases in life that we go through. So when you're starting to become rich, you invest a certain way. When you become rich, you invest a certain way. Because when you have different levels of capital, you have to take different levels of risk. And so in the beginning, I think that you have to take a little bit more risk. You have to be more aggressive. You have to be willing to hop out there and do some things that could potentially not turn out that well, but also have the potential to turn out very well. And so I tell people, if you're starting to invest in the stock market, I really want you to consider investing with stock options. And the reason why I tell you that is you give you immediate leverage so you can expand your capital. The reason why real estate is a strong investment, people tell you to start with your first residence where you buy your single family home, 3.5% down, or even a multi-family 3.5% down with the FHA loan is the leverage. The leverage piece, because you're putting down 3.5%, sometimes even less with that with these down payment assistance programs, that then allow you to take and control an asset worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Now you're getting an appreciation off that large amount of money, the $300,000 to the $400,000. So now you get 10%, 20%, 10% off of $400,000 is a good amount of money. And now you have that, what they call equity piggy bank. So then you can start investing into your own projects for the sake of it being an investment, because most people aren't starting with big money. So you have to use leverage to get your small money into big money. Stock options is a great way to do it. Real estate is a great way to do it. Working with other people is a great way to do it. If you can find partners, find teammates, find people who are like-minded, form an LLC, and start buying up some property, or start investing in the stock market, or start doing different things on a larger level, buy a company, that's going to allow you to grow. So it's the leverage that I say is going to get you to where you want to be.
So is there, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, once you get there, you can be a little bit more conservative. So when I didn't have a good amount of money in my portfolio, I didn't have a lot of dividend paying stocks. I just didn't see that it didn't make sense to me. Why would I want to make 10% when I could strive to make 40, 50, 60% and double my money? But now that I have a large pool of money, that large amount of money is invested in dividends. And those dividends now pay for my living expenses. So the dividends pay for my mortgage, pay for my car note, pay for all those different things, because I didn't want to just pay for them in cash. I'd rather keep the cash, live off of the cash flow, and then also allow that cash to appreciate, because it does both. So the cash and the dividend paying stocks are going to grow while also kicking off a hefty dividend. So I'm getting the best of both worlds there.
Right, right. I mean, so, one of the things that I think is, like you said, if you're able to put in $1 and get, 50 cents out every year, or $1 or $5 or $10, some of the best investments are in businesses, whether it's your business or whether you're coming together and somebody else has a talent and you provide the leads, or, things like that. And then also looking at other assets that you can put your money into. So there was, I'm sorry, everybody, I'm on my cell phone and not my laptop. Otherwise, I'd show everybody. Erica posted something about a week ago, and it was family offices and how they set up their portfolios, and they had, I remember some of these numbers. 25% was in the stock market, 22% was in private equity, and it was 20 something percent in real estate. So I think that us studying kind of like how some of these family offices, and then they had like the rest and other types of assets, but really starting off slow, like you said, getting into one, learning that one really well, and then getting into the next asset type and the next asset type. Do you think sometimes that we try to do too much too fast instead of really, becoming proficient at certain types of investing?
I saw a quote the other day, and it said that you don't eat the fruit the same day that you plant the seed. And I
Mm,
find that sometimes a lot of people, that's their expectation when they start investing. And I also heard a similar quote, not necessarily a similar quote, but they're saying that the goal is to go a mile deep, not a mile wide. And a lot of us, we're in
mm,
so many different scattered industries that we can't become proficient at the industry that we decide to be a part of. Interestingly enough, I worked in a family office for about 3 years. I don't really talk about that too much, but it was an eye-opening experience. And what we did a lot was a lot of real estate investing, real estate development, and lending. Heavy on the lending, because when you become the lender, you start getting the cream of the crop. First and foremost, you don't got to find the deal, you don't got to find the
mhm,
contractors, You don't got to get the permits. You don't have to do any of that. And then you're not even doing the deal if it doesn't make sense financially. So, if you're an investor, you can go out there, maybe overpay, maybe do all these different things. No, when you're the lender, you don't lend unless it's 70% ARV. And that's all you're lending. Anything over that, they have to bring the capital to the table. And so we were not only making money on the loans, we were also able to then get the deals if the deals didn't pan out. And so we were getting assets, commercial properties, different like skyscraper buildings, wineries. We were just like water facilities. We were getting all these assets at a super discount because we were the lender on that deal. And so what I found is they even kind of stay in their lane. They're not out. He didn't invest in the stock market. I would always ask him, like, why aren't you in the stock market? He's like, no, I'm just going to stay in real estate, lending, and that kind of space. And business, of course, a lot of family offices get their money through business. And so I'm a huge proponent of, you're going to get your, like, you grow your wealth through business, you maintain your wealth through investing. And one of the things that I've told a lot of people is, for some reason, we think that because the wealthy people are doing it, that's how they became wealthy. So it's cause or correlation. Is it a correlation that they're investing and they're rich, or is that the cause? And so in my opinion, that's why I tell people that you can't just buy and hold your way to wealth. Whether it's stocks or real estate, you have to be actively out there doing the business of real estate, actively out there doing the business of the stock market while you're on your way to getting rich. You can't get away from business. You got to get in the business of actively bringing in income, and whatever that looks like. And you bring in over a lot of money over a short amount of time. Now you have the money that you can put aside because you haven't had to eat it up through your living expenses to start putting the work for you.
Right. You said so much in there. So the first thing is what your philosophy is reminds me a lot of The Richest Man in Babylon. That's a very, I guess it's an old book. It seems very old, but what his whole philosophy was I get a whole bunch of money, I loan it out for interest, and like that's what I do. Like that's The Richest Man in Babylon. Also, the very first person who kind of introduced me to that whole thought process of being the lender was Robert Kiyosaki. Whether you like him or not, that whole rich dad, poor dad philosophy was, you get to the I and the B side, and then ultimately you want to be an I, you want to be an investor, and those are the types of things that you want to invest in. So, I number one thing that I always talk about is trying to get people to invest in things that beat inflation. Like a lot of people don't even think that level. Like what are the things that you can get into that are going to beat inflation? And what you're talking about is paper assets. I personally don't want to I don't want to be a landlord. Like my mother was a landlord. I know. So I would rather hold the paper asset and get 8% preferred return on my money than to be bothered with a tenant. So, but that's just me. Other people may be like, no, I want to have 10 rentals, etc. So I think that's, where everybody follows their own path as well. Yeah. So, so one of the things then that you mentioned so much about the family office and ultimately something called deal flow, which is what I talk to people about as well within what we do within the 10K project, is that you want to be in a position where the best deals come to you no matter what, so that you have the opportunity to turn them away. And you want different deals coming to you as well. And being an angel investor is very competitive. Like they all want to know what the deals are. They all have FOMO, like the professional angel investors. Have you found that you kind of still want to know about things, even if you're not going to play in that pond at the time?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because you never know what could make sense, and you don't want to be oblivious to opportunities because it's also going to indicate where the market's going. So if you are in the know of what people are developing and creating, now you can kind of start researching that on your own to see if it makes sense. I get a lot of people sending me things these days. Not so that I want to be necessarily an investor. I kind of want to be the equity. So it's like for me, I would rather be a part of the development side. or I put the deal together, I find the funding, and then I can get paid the larger amount that way, as opposed to just being the passive investor in that instance. So I think that could be kind of where we defer. But I just,
Yeah.
and in that instance, I don't want to put up however much money to get a little bit back. I want to be I want to be on the ground level.
Yeah, and you know what? And I appreciate that. I think that every you needs a me and every me needs a you. I've been trying to get a friend of mine to set up this tax lien group. I don't want to research the tax liens. I don't want to, get involved with what county we're in. I just want her to come, twice a year to the table, or whatever, and say XYZ County is having their tax sale. I need your $500 or your $1,000 or whatever. And obviously, I want to know a little bit so I can make sure whatever she's doing makes sense. But that's deal flow to me too. And like, I want to have these little pockets, with options and things like that. Just because I can't do it all, I'm concentrating on my business and working towards, a certain revenue that I want to have. So. Yeah, so I think that all of us working together, and I don't know how you feel. I see a lot more of us, a lot more Black people coming together in these different groups, and that makes me really proud. There's not enough of us out here, obviously, but this whole notion of Black people can't work together and we're not building wealth and all of us are broke and it's going to be zero wealth for every single Black family. I'm not finding that. I'm seeing some really exceptional talent out there within Black America. Oh, you're on mute, I think.
I would say, I would say that the narrative has definitely changed. It's
Hmm.
funny. For the longest time, I used to have to like argue and debate with people about what's possible, and I
Hmm.
think that people started seeing that it not only was possible, people were doing it at a very high level, and that inspired and motivated them because of platforms like this, platforms that we've created that allow us to showcase who matters, and they don't have to worry about
Hmm.
getting on the news. They don't have to worry about um, somebody selecting them and putting. I don't know why it keeps doing that, or getting on the Breakfast Club, or all these platforms that, like, before we didn't control our own to determine who our heroes were.
Hmm.
Now we determine who our heroes are, and I think it's really cool to see. I can't honestly say that I've been seeing us necessarily group up. I have seen great people like Julian Gordon, Chris Senegal,
Hmm.
Tulsa, and they're doing some really big things with really
Hmm.
big groups, and they're being successful. And it does show that we can work together. And I think that that kind of indicates that we can't allow whoever's spreading this news to say that it's not possible, because we're definitely doing it. I mean, the
Yeah.
Thai Capital Investment Club, the Real Estate Club, all these different things. We have people who are ready, willing, and able to participate in everything that we're doing at any capacity.
Hmm.
It blew my mind
Hmm.
because we started that 4 years ago, and people were just signing up like crazy. Like, we went
Hmm.
from 0 members to like 30 members to now 300 members. We created online communities such as the options community, where we're talking about trading stocks. That group went from 0 members to 5,000 members. There are
Hmm.
5,000 people in there, but predominantly African American, talking about the stocks, trading stocks, and they're doing this 24 hours a day, talking about stocks, helping each other, teaching each other, holding classes. We've literally
Hmm.
changed the landscape of investing. Somebody created a rap song about options yesterday, and somebody's like, "Man,
Oh,
like
I got to hear that.
we brought like the hood to Wall Street." And I was just like, I mean, it's really truly thanks to social media, because it
Hmm.
democratizes all of this. It democratizes the media, as opposed to having to go through whoever's pulling the strings back there and decides what we get to showcase, and we keep getting drug dealer show after drug dealer show after drug dealer show. Well, you can go
Hmm.
on Instagram and there are no drug dealers. It's just a bunch of businessmen and wholesalers and investors. And that's what we get more of it, because we control the narrative. But if we didn't have that, all we'd have is what 50 Cent says we get.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will say that, people like Wall Street Trapper and Derek Grace have also changed the face of Black business
Mhm.
and what people can consider and what paths that we can go, et cetera. So, look, I'm definitely, we call it the typical bourgeoisie. I'm not really boule, but bougie. That's me, and I own it, right? But I do think that that there's a segment of people that needs to see a Wall Street trapper, or
Yeah.
needs to see an Erica Williams, or need, like, we all have a voice in this community, and we bring different people with us as well, and we can all cross collaborate and share. So I love it. I mean, so one of the biggest things I think that the rich invest in is their own education.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that. Like,
Yeah.
I think actually, if I were to guess, the majority of their money is investing in their own education, making sure they don't make, certain mistakes and things like that.
Interestingly enough, I'm finding that like wealthy people don't really make money based on their labor and their time. They get paid because of the things that they
Hmm.
can create and map out. So, for example, if I have a business and my business is a tax practice, I could think that it's my job to go out there and recruit people and then do the taxes and then review the taxes
Hmm.
and send them out. Or I could invest in a course or a system that's going to teach me, like, no, you put a salesperson in place, and then you put tax preparers in place, and then you put people who review the tax returns in place, and you just kick the system off. That's what you do. That's how
Hmm.
what people make money. And I learned this when I started realizing the value of my time. And I
Hmm.
realized the value of my attention as well, because you only have so much attention. So if I'm putting my attention on doing a low dollar task, I can't put my attention on a high dollar task. And it's still the same time, but it's not the same attention. And so the book says that the average CEO reads about 60 books a year, 60 books a year, attends about 5 conferences a year. And
Hmm.
it's so that they can improve, because the more that you improve, the better systems you can create. The more that you improve, the better processes you can create. The more that you improve, the better people that you can meet, they're going to help your processes improve. And so that education is 100% where you want your focus to be, but it's also a write off. So everything you participate in, you start getting tired of just giving money away to the government. So it's like, you know what? If I can go and I can go to this conference, this conference, this conference, which will then allow me to
Hmm.
write off the flight, I can write off the hotel, I can write off the food, I can write off the drinks, I can write off all that stuff, and I can write off the conference and any materials I purchased at the conference. Like, why wouldn't I make that investment? I'm gonna make that investment all day.
Yeah.
And so I've been to maybe I'm gonna say three conferences, but it's probably more. It's probably more than three conferences, but I can name like actual sit down conferences. I've been to three. And
Hmm.
you might only get one gem from that conference that's going to take your life to the next level, but it's going to change everything for you. And that one
Hmm.
conference, that $2,000, that $3,000 you spend can make you $300,000. And
That's
that's the
true.
beauty of investing in yourself and investing in your business, because the returns are so massive. You invest 3,000 into your business, 10,000 into your business, and the returns are exponential. You invest that much money into marketing and advertising. Now you're going to be making 10x, 3x, or 10x or 100x your money. I've seen
Hmm.
it happen where I've spent $100, $200 on an ad and made 10 grand. Oh, that's
Yeah,
crazy. And so if I had to say another thing that the rich invest in is marketing and advertising.
that's true.
Advertising is so key. It's not a 10%, 20% return when you invest in advertising. It's a massive 10x return to get in front of the right people. And that's why companies spend so much money doing it. That's why Coke is going to spend $1 million on an ad, because they're going to make 25 million off that ad.
Yeah.
Real dollars. I don't know why it works. It makes yourself a household name. I became a household name where I can go anywhere in the country because I spent money on advertising. I spent money on
Hmm.
Facebook ads. I spent money on social media shout outs. I spent money on all those different things to take your brand and your business to the next level.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will say that with regards to conferences, sometimes it's something that a person says, and sometimes it's just meeting the right person.
Hmm.
I was speaking earlier today at a conference. Shout out to Tawana, my co-founder of the 10K Project. She connected me with this conference, and before I even spoke, this gentleman called me and said, "I need your help." So and he's got a big deal that he's working on. So you never know. It is about being in the right place, being seen. Grant Cardone, again, whether you like him or not, he's right about one thing. If people don't know you, they can't flow you, is what he says. Like, if you are the best kept secret in town, you're going to be the brokest secret in town. So you do have to have your information, your name out there. People need to be able to find you. People need to be able to easily reach out to you, etc., in order for you to, to do business. And I keep saying this, I keep pounding the pavement on this. Entrepreneurship is a skill. It is a skill. And I even am investing in my business right now. It's a long road for me to systematize my business. But I know that when it is truly systematized and up and running, I can make 10 times the amount of money I'm making right now. So that's the goal. I think we need more entrepreneurs in the Black community that are netting $1 million a year in their own bank accounts. Like, we
Right.
need to get past. I make 7 figures. No, you don't. You gross 7 figures. You make any money at the bottom line, right? But that's how we need to. I think all of us, or many of us, are starting to move to that level of, oh no, I need to net 1 million so that I could put 900,000 a year into other investments and live off 100 and be cool. So that's what I'm working on right now personally. So that's what I, as the rich, I'm not really rich, is investing in, is getting all those systems up and running and promoting myself. So yeah. Uh, any final words for the family? Everybody, don't forget to like. I see yellow fuzz here in YouTube. I know we have other people. Y'all are quiet tonight, so y'all must be taking notes from Charles here. But Charles, any other final words that you have for the family?
I would just say, um, don't avoid risky things. Learn how to manage the risk. Stock
Mm,
options. I've seen stock options change people's life. I literally have seen it, and I was scared to release it. I literally was like, I can't release this content because I know how risky that options can be. But my content became the
mhm,
foundation of people beginning their learning. And so what they did is they took my information, they took the information on options trading, and then they started just stacking. They started learning more about charts, more about different companies, more about different
mhm,
indicators. And then from there, they've literally paid off student loans. They've retired people. They've literally
mhm.
changed their life. And they did it
That's
because they didn't
amazing.
avoid the risk. They learned how to become great at dancing on top of it. So I would say that there's going to be things out there that are going to make you wealthy. Starting a business is a risk. Investing in the stock market is a
Mhm,
risk. Flipping a house is a risk. But you're going to get better the more that you go through it. So you got to be in there. You got to be in the arena. I went yesterday and I was in Santa Monica, which is a beach in Los Angeles. And I took a bike and I rode my bike down to Venice. And so I get off the bike and I was like, you know what? I'm going on a kayak. They had a little like smooth beach because it was in a harbor. And so I went out there. I've never gone
mhm,
on a kayak. It's a little tiny boat. You're in the middle of the ocean. I was like, let me try this. And so I get out there and I'm like paddling. And I'm like, this is kind of easy. This isn't that bad. Like I thought I was gonna be exhausted because like you're paddling. Like I've gone on boats where I had to paddle the boat and it was just like super hard, super exhausting. Didn't want to do it. And then also I noticed it was actually pretty stable. And then also noticed like, bro, like I'm in the middle of this big ocean. And I realized like
mhm.
when you're in the risk, when you're in the moment, when you're in the boat, it's way less scary than when you're thinking about it. So you just got to get in
Yeah.
the kayak, you got to get in the boat and just start paddling. Before you know it, you'll be out in the middle of the ocean somewhere you never thought you could be, all because you
Mhm.
took that risk.
I love it. So I will then say that um, it's also okay to go in with somebody and give them, 50-50 of the profits, or potentially even 100% of the profits. I know that, when I started out in real estate many years ago, I only did 2 deals because real estate wasn't a passion of mine, I discovered, but I hired a mentor and he said, okay, do all of these things. And when you get a deal, let me know. And I did everything he said. I got a deal, so it does work. And then he like made sure that I had all the contracts and that I didn't it was profitable and all of that stuff. So, sometimes you got to invest in the right mentor as well and give away some of your profits.
Hmm.
Some of you need to give away some of your time. I have another friend who literally makes seven figures himself wholesaling, and he used to have one of the biggest wholesaling commercials in the DC area. If I said the name of the company and you live in the DC area, you would know who they are. They were one of the biggest. And he's like, Cherie, I can't find anybody to just answer the phones for me and, and talk people through the deals and set up the appointments. I'm like, that would have been ideal for a young person to just give, 10, 20 hours a week to that, and they could have learned the business. So sometimes you're investing money, sometimes you're investing time in order to get better.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
something else. Yeah. There's no better time than right now in America for Black people. I will stand by that. And final comments, Charles, before we head out?
I would just say don't sleep on any of the courses that I have. I've created a course on real estate investing long distance, which I think is great
Mhm.
if you live in an expensive market like I do. I live in Southern California, and if you're starting with a little bit of money, it's easy to get discouraged and say, I'll just work my job and continue to save. But you compare long distance real estate investing, you can compare long distance real estate investing with the group approach that Sherry is a proponent of and a partnership approach. You can be in some deals in the Midwest, be in some deals in maybe in Florida, maybe some parts of Texas. So check out the courses on, I forget the website these days, but it's affordable education, or it's gumroad.com/affordable financial education. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Todd.capital, on my personal Instagram, which is at Todd.billion. The Chargers are going to the Super Bowl, and the Dodgers are going to the World Series. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right, everybody. And I have no clue who's going to the Super Bowl or, or anything else, but I know who is about to get rich, and that is Charles and myself and you for watching. All right, everybody. Talk to you later. We will see you hopefully next Monday.